The recent debate between Senator J.D. Vance and Governor Tim Walz wasn't just about politics. It was about culture. If you listened closely, you could hear the deeper issues at play. Two completely different views on what America is and where it's headed. On the surface, they were talking policy, economics, healthcare, immigration. But underneath, it was really a conversation about identity and values. Let's start with J.D. Vance. He's the author of the Hillbilly Elegy and represents a group of Americans who feel like they're being left behind. His supporters are often rural, working class, and deeply connected to traditional values like family, faith, and patriotism. When Vance talks, he's not just debating policy. He's speaking to a cultural anxiety.
The rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check. And since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on.
A feeling that America as they know it is slipping away. For Vance and his base, it's about protecting a way of life that feels threatened by progressive politics, urban elites, and rapid social change.
So there's an application called the CBP One app, where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years.
Then you've got Tim Walz, the Democratic governor of Minnesota. He represents a very different America, one that's diverse, forward-thinking, and focused on progress.
I believe Senator Vance wants to solve this, but by standing with Donald Trump and not working together to find a solution, it becomes a talking point. And when it becomes a talking point like this, we dehumanize and villainize other human beings.
His base includes people who are comfortable with change, who see diversity and inclusion as strength. Walz talks about expanding healthcare, tackling climate change, and addressing inequality. He paints a picture of a future where America embraces its differences and evolve into something better. What's interesting is that this debate wasn't just about policy. It was about two clashing worldviews. Vance's America is about holding on to tradition, protecting what's familiar, and resisting change that feels threatening. Walz's America is about leaning into change, embracing diversity, and believing that progress makes us stronger.
We could come together and solve this if we didn't let Donald Trump continue to make it an issue. And the consequences in Springfield were the governor had to send state law enforcement to escort kindergartners to school.
It's a cultural battle. Vance is speaking to people who feel like their version of America is disappearing. When he talks about immigration or critiques woke culture, it's not just about those specific issues. He's tapping into a fear that the country is becoming unrecognizable, that the values people grew up with are being replaced by something foreign. Walz, on the other hand, is speaking to people who believe America's future lies in change and diversity. He's saying, yes, America is evolving, but that's a good thing. For him, the idea of progress isn't a threat, it's an opportunity. He sees the challenges of the 21st century, climate change, racial injustice, healthcare, as problems that need bold solutions. And those solutions come from embracing new ideas and new voices. But here is where it gets even more interesting. This isn't just about Vance and Walz. This debate reflects a bigger culture divide in America. One side feels like they're losing something. In America that was stable, predictable, where the rules were clear. The other side feels like they're gaining something, an America that's more inclusive, more dynamic, where different perspectives are celebrated. For Vance supporters, the push for progressive change feels like an attack on their way of life. It's not just political, it's personal. When he talks about protecting America, it's about more than borders or policies. It's about preserving a sense of identity. Walz supporters, on the other hand, see this as a time to move forward. They're excited about the future, where America's strength comes from its diversity and its willingness to adapt. What's fascinating is how both sides feel like they're at risk. Vance's supporters worry that if things keep changing, they'll lose the America they love. Walz supporters worry that if America doesn't change, it will fall behind. Both groups want to protect the country. They just have different ideas of what that country should look like. So, when Vance and Walz went head to head, it wasn't just about their political platforms. It was about two different visions of America. Vance wants to preserve what's familiar, while Walz wants to push forward into the unknown. It's a cultural tug of war, and it's not going away anytime soon. At the end of the day, this debate was a snapshot of a much bigger conversation happening across the country. Are we a nation that holds on to tradition, or do we embrace change and diversity? The answer to that question is shaping not just politics, but the future of America itself.